Okay. We are so thankful to have Miss Mary Gupton. She is with AFMC. She's the supervisor for quality outreach services at AFMC. She joined AFMC in 2007 for the purpose of interacting with team members to develop an approach for detailing assigned clinical topics and quality improvement initiatives to healthcare providers and consumers throughout the state of Arkansas. In 2007, Ms. Gupton developed a positive relationship with practices in Southeast Arkansas. She's assessed many practices' readiness to implement an electronic health records. She assisted with developing workflow processes that improved day-to-day operations at AFMC. Ms. Gupton brings 35 years of experience in health education and promotion. She was the first graduate class to receive a Master's of Public Health from the College of Public Health at the University of Arkansas at UAMS. Her prior experience includes working as a health specialist with the UAMS Head Start program, where she developed, managed, and implemented health programs for low-income children and their families. Ms. Gupton also taught health and wellness course at Pulaski Tech. Her position as a quality improvement health disparity manager with community health centers consisted of collaborating with other state coordinators in the region on best practice clinical guidelines to chronic disease such as cardiovascular disease, diabetes, and depression. Ms. Gupton is a certified professional health informational technology. She served as a leader for the Hometown Health Initiative, Midtown Health Alliance Coalition, and implemented the Bless Your Heart Toolkit and faith-based program throughout the disparate population within the state. And she received a certificate as a leader trainer in the Gateway Diabetes self-management and curriculum. She's presented diabetes on various TV and radio shows. Ms. Gupton is trained in a variety of focused topics such as quality healthcare basics, cultural competency, health disparities, and CKD clinical guidelines. Ms. Gupton, we thank you so much for speaking today. You may begin your presentation. Ms. Gupton. Miss Mary.
Finally got unmute.
Okay. You may begin.
Thank you so much, Cass.
You're welcome.
Sorry for that. Here again in this virtual world, we're trying to figure out how to do things. So this is my first time ever presenting virtually. So please excuse my, I won't say ignorance, but my, less knowledge of technology. Let's get into it and talk about diabetes. Some of the takeaways that I hope that you'll get from this webinar is that you'll start looking at different ways on how you can use different messages to control diabetes or get people to living with diabetes to control their diabetes. Start involving key stakeholders and partners to support you with diabetes self-management efforts. And then ways to promote or refer different ones to diabetes self-management classes. And then we're going to demonstrate the components of a balanced meal, identify the benefits of exercise for controlling blood glucose level and for controlling just your health in general, and then making lifestyle changes that begins with you. So let's just look at an overview of diabetes. I just wanted to just give some stats as to where we are. You probably already know this information, but it's good to just start there. We know that diabetes is the nation's 7th leading cause of death. It contributes to heart disease, and it's the leading cause of death of heart disease. And then the 5th leading cause of death in stroke. So when we look at Arkansas, we rank the 5th highest in diabetes rate. Somewhere that's better than what we were in 2013, because we were the 4th rank, but here again, we're still in the top 5. So that means we still have some work to do. We've improved some, but definitely went up in some, went down in some others. So that's a good thing, but there's still room for improvement. As you can see, our prevalence is 13.9, and overall, the US is 10.9. So we really have some work to do. Males, 14.5, females, 13.4. So as we look at trying to control diabetes and trying to reduce our diabetes rate here in the state, we need to look at different messaging. A lot of times, I know most of you, I don't know just your role probably in the community health centers and have worked with the community health centers. When we're talking with our clients, we want to make sure, especially those that's living with diabetes, we want to try to give them the best information as possible as to how they can start managing their diabetes. And we need to look at other messagings. And some of the messaging that I want to share today is using the World Health Organization calendar. You can Google that, and it has health topics for every month of the year. We say that diabetes is a head-to-toe disease. So utilizing the health calendar, I found it to be very important, and it's getting the messaging out. Say, for instance, like everybody know in February, that's Heart Health Month. So usually for Heart Health Month, guess what? We talk about the heart and how we need to take care of our blood pressure and our cholesterol. Well, guess what? Diabetes is one of the risk factors for heart disease. So what we need to do is, as we're talking about the heart, bring out information about diabetes. When you're sharing information with a diabetic population, share in that month also how diabetes is a risk factor for heart disease and how they need to control their cholesterol and so forth. You even have a cholesterol month, which is in September. That's another opportunity to talk about diabetes. Stress is in April, stress awareness. Stress can cover so many things, and we're going to talk about that later on, because when we have stress in our lives, especially if it's a person that's living with diabetes, guess what? It has a trickle effect on their blood glucose level and things that they're trying to control in their lives. So there's so many ways that we can tie in diabetes into the different health months that we're going to promote for the year. Community health fairs, I know you guys are very instrumental in the community. That's a good way of trying to get information out and getting the education stuff out. If you haven't touched on local libraries, that would be perfect for you to get involved with. We've partnered with libraries in our rural areas that actually set up health hubs. And what they did was they had a corner in the library that focused on nutrition, or they focused on exercising. And with those books that they had in that health hub, they had some things on diabetes and how it relates. Some of them even had areas where a person can come in and take their blood pressures. That might be a good way as they look at where their blood pressures are, for you to have the community health center's card there to say, okay, if your blood pressure was within this range, then please, call this office or what have you. So it could be good publicity for your community health center as well, for them to be referred there. Your church bulletins, perfect way. Cassie read in my bio about the faith-based organizations that I've worked with, and in implementing a Bless Your Heart toolkit. They have health ministries there in their churches. Those that are small churches might not, but they do have positions where they can provide information out to their congregations. So if you have information that you want to share in the community, your churches are a real good source to try to get that information out. And then, of course, your local TV and radio stations, you want to utilize them as much as possible. When we talk about partners, as I mentioned about the faith-based community, I enjoyed working with the pastors. When you can get a pastor that, shall I say, when you get one to buy in on the health of their congregation, it really makes a difference, and it really has pull, because, you know, people believe in their pastor. You know, when he speaks from the pulpit and talk about health issues and how we need to improve on managing our health, they have listening ears. So this is a good way to really get involved with your churches, getting your pastors involved, getting youth ministers involved, because we want to make sure we don't leave out the youth, because we want to start there with getting them used to regulating their diet and exercising and moving and knowing health risks for not eating healthy or not moving or what have you. So here again, really look at utilizing your pastors and your ministers that are in your churches in the community. Public officials, here in the bottom right-hand corner, the mayor that's at Lake Village. Oh gosh, she was so instrumental in doing a lot of health activities and so forth in her community. You know, once she took it and ran with it, you know, she made sure that there were walking accessibility for people there in the community. Their farmers market, I mean, I think they had it like every day available for people, because, you know, when you look at rural areas, that's one of the, and then being in a food desert area, you know, those are some problems with getting fresh produce. So it was really good how the mayor came on board and tried to make sure that things were set up for people living in her community. Your senior centers, it's good to partner with them, because a lot of times if some of the seniors can't make it to your center and you're trying to get information out to them, it's a good way to give information out to the activities directors that's there at that senior center. And even to maybe provide some classes. We're gonna talk about diabetes self-management classes. And maybe later on we'll have time for discussion as to, is that something that you guys are doing already? You know, if you're not, that's something to consider, especially if you have a certified diabetes educator in your center that not only, you know, we just don't want to utilize them as being a counselor and talking with them about their diabetes, but actually providing some type of support group or some type of training, you know, and not so much at the center, but maybe even go to a senior center or even to a church. I know a lot of times, I know when I've worked with community health centers, you know, staff is limited. I know all of us can't do everything, but even when AFMC came on board with doing diabetes classes in the community, we actually trained other individuals to be able to talk about diabetes and so forth. So, and we're going to discuss that later on as we get into that part of it. Pharmacists, some of the community health centers, I know you guys have pharmacists. So utilize them, because a lot of them are coming on board and doing education with trying to do the health and wellness of their patients that comes in to get their medication. As they're educating them on their meds, they can share other things with them as well. If they have pharmacy students that comes in every so often, utilize them. That's good experience for them as they get ready to really talk and be with the community and learn how to engage them in self-managing their health and even with their diabetes. So as we were talking about diabetes self-management classes, they call them DSME classes. First of all, you know, it is a proven effective tool to use because it does make a change. It does share with individuals that's living with diabetes that they can manage it and that they can change their lifestyles. And mainly because they're involved in activities. You don't have anyone just standing there in front of them telling them what they can have, especially what they can't eat, because that's one thing about a person that has diabetes. They do not want you to tell them what they can eat or what they can have. So here with the DSME classes, you want to be sure to have someone that, we call it like a support group more so than a class. We say workshop, because that's what it actually is. We're actually facilitating the group and allowing them to participate in interactive activities that they can get a better understanding of what it is to balance their meals. Like in the top left-hand corner, where you see that plate method, we have the three-pronged plate method. And they were able to pull a menu that they, you know, would plan in their home, or if they was to go to a fast food, everybody want to go to McDonald's, and we love the sweet tea. So when we have them to measure out how much is that sweet tea, we don't get the small. We're gonna go large. So if we're gonna get that sweet tea, guess what? Look at all the 2 cubes of sugar that we're gonna have to put in that corner for you to see just how much it's gonna be for that sweet tea. And not only just the sweet tea, but if you get the meal, how much sugar might be in it. And we're gonna see later on just how carbohydrates, break down into sugars, and then I like using that lard, because I mean, it's heavy and it stacks where they can really see just how much grease they have in the French fries or even the burger or what have you. So when they see that in the plate, they actually get an idea of how much they're consuming of sugar and salt and of grease in their diet. We like the red plate because it signifies the heart. And then plus it stands out when you put the ingredients on it. So really consider using something like that so they can have a visual to really see just what are some of the things that they're eating and that they're consuming in their bodies. The other picture on the right-hand side with the strings, I'm sure you're wondering now, what are they doing? It was a simple activity where each one of the participants pulled a string, and each participant was a caregiver, or shall I say, a healthcare professional. They were either the primary care doc, they were either the nurse, they were the pharmacist, they were the CDE, they were the nutritionist. All of them had a role, with the crossbow being the person that is having that has the diabetes, or the one that is having any particular problem. So what it was showing was that how each one, or how the person with diabetes is connected to all the individuals that's taking care of their health. A lot of times they feel that, well, when I go to my primary care doc, I don't know why my pharmacist needs to know. Yes, he does. Or yes, she does. They need to know just what care that you're receiving so they can talk about it as well. So when we talk about a team approach in healthcare, this is what we're talking about. And then for that person that is being cared for to know that they are in the center of that team of care. So it's a really good eye opener. I love it because they get a chance to ask questions, and we talk a little bit more about their caregiver. The classes that we had that were like 6 weeks workshops, 1 day a week for 2 hours a day. When we first started, we went 6 weeks. Oh man, are we going to get anybody to stay for 6 weeks? And we found out that most of them wanted to stay longer. And it really made us feel good that that time that we allowed for them to receive the information was just enough for them to be able to retain it and to be able to utilize in their everyday lives. So the impact. The impact of doing the workshops in Arkansas, when we enrolled, or shall I say, started the diabetes program, it was in 2015. As you can see, our graduation rate was very low, 37.03%. But today, I would say from 2019 was when we ended, we've enrolled over close to 4,000 individuals. We've graduated close to 3,000. And then close to 2,000 as qualified graduates. And when we talk about qualified graduates, we're talking about those individuals that we really targeted. And those were the Medicare individuals, and then those that actually had diabetes. The other ones that were enrolled were pre-diabetic, or either they were caregivers, or either they were families of an individual that have diabetes, or the spouse, in other words, and they prepared their meals. So they wanted to be there to hear firsthand as to how things would go. So as you can see, we conducted over 400 classes. Our retention rate was from 78 to 82%, which we were excited about it because here again, it wasn't like we were just talking to them. We actually had integrative activities where they can be involved and they were actually doing something in the class. Some suggested strategies that we use to improve those DSME rates as to why we had that retention. We made sure that when we had, and these were free classes, let me share this, that we had in the communities. There are accredited programs, and some of the centers, some of you, the community health centers might be accredited for to do diabetes programs and DPP programs. But if you are, if a a participant go through your class where you're actually billing for that service, that's fine. But look at other ways where they can continue on to receive care. You know, if there's a class that's out in the community that's being issued free, because we do have some partners that are still doing DSME classes that they're not charging, that'll be a good way to just refer them to that class so they can continue on getting support. I'm often reminded of an individual that they was first diagnosed with diabetes. And first of all, you know, when you're first diagnosed with that, you got to get over the fear that you even have the disease and the things that's going to change your life. So in doing that, that first 6 weeks, maybe the third week, you probably get it a little bit. And maybe the fourth, you just now understanding what, you know, what they're talking about. You're beginning to accept that you do have the disease. So here again, that individual needs some more training or some more assistance or support to help them on through managing their diabetes. So that's a good time to know just what's in the community that you can refer that individual to get further support. And then meeting individuals where they are. I know a lot of times, you know, we try to have classes around maybe our lunch hour, you know, it's always around our time. But guess what? We want to make sure it's a time that is conducive to that individual we're trying to train, because we want to make sure that it's something that they're benefiting from. You know, it might be after hours. And if that's the case, here again, go back to where I was talking about partnering with individuals that are out in your community. There might be retired people or individuals that if they work, they're available in the evening. So it's not so much that you have to do all the work, but partner with other individuals in your community that can be involved and help individuals with a support group or so forth. But, you know, and that's really beneficial when a person is there at a time that is better for them. We found that when we held classes at the senior housing complex, that the mornings were great, you know, because seniors usually are up early mornings. We knew not to dare take it on their bingo days, though. If it was doing bingo days, we better make sure that it was an hour crowd too, and then make sure we definitely was through before bingo began. Since we had so many that loves bingo, we have a activity that we do that is similar to bingo. You know, when you have some that really loves that, even if they're not seniors, you know, I mean, well, I'm a senior, but individuals that are not seniors love playing bingo. Who don't want to give up bingo? But we do have where you can actually use pieces where you talk about managing your diabetes, that you can use pieces to put in that spot. Okay, what if an A1C that's blah, 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 you know, and it's a really fun activity. Plus it's a learning tool as well as they play the game. When we normally have individuals that take the class and they graduate, when they finish that 6-week class, we have a huge graduation. And I mean, they feel so good because, you know, here again, our target groups were seniors. So some of them probably didn't even graduate from high school. So this was a way of them really achieving something. I accomplished something. I did this. And then when we invited their family and friends to be there to be supported, it just made the celebration even more so. So, I mean, you know, when you get things involved like that, and guess what? Word of mouth goes a long ways. When you find out that they do, and then the next time when you start up a class, they might have somebody else that they've invited to come and so forth. So we really enjoyed having classes and involving our individuals. Ways to engage or motivate your educators. I mentioned that, you know, if you're going to train individuals in your community, especially peer educators, that's what we call them, because they were individuals that looked like me, you know, the ones that were out in the communities that we were serving. They had diabetes like me. They knew my struggles. So when we trained individuals that was like that and that they were motivated to help others because they made it through, it really made a difference. And then to let them know that we appreciate them, we sent out handwritten thank you letters to let them know we appreciate you doing this class. We appreciate you finishing up the training to get out and train more people in your community. And then we even asked them to share their best practice on how things are going and how they want to highlight things. Giving them the kudos that they need to get that support really made them feel good. And then when they had their first class, we supported them. You know, we let them know that, hey, you're not alone. We're here to help you and to to make sure that you need all the support you need. And we stayed in touch, you know, even though that they started their classes, we still stayed in touch to see if there's anything that they need or any other support that they might, as they go on through their classes. Some of the improved outcomes that I just want to share, because we were really excited about individuals that started with the classes. It really made us feel good to know that we made an impact. So a young lady here in Darnell said that I learned a lot in this class. Everything was clear and at a level that I could understand. I really enjoyed the class, and it really made me make changes in how I manage my diabetes. And I love the one from Pine Bluff when he stated that my doctor had to decrease my insulin because, you know, my A1C had gone down and my diet had changed, I'd lost weight. So when you hear things like that, it really makes you feel good. And one of the reasons that they start controlling their diabetes or controlling their blood sugar is what it is because we showed them how you can start monitoring your blood glucose, know what your numbers are. And the visual effect we use, and I'm gonna show you, and I usually have to share with people and say, this is not blood, it's tomato paste. But if you can see this, and you see that 100, we would show them just how the blood flows when their blood sugar is at 100, or if it's below 200. This is how your blood will be flowing when you check your blood sugar. But when you take your blood sugar and it's 200 or more, just notice how it's a little bit thicker. It's still flowing, but it's still a little thicker. And then when it got to 300, oh my, it was almost like a paste. You know, see how it's just sluggish, just barely. And when individuals saw that, they knew, oh my gosh, when my blood sugar is over 200, I don't want it to be that thick. And these are reasons why we share with them. This is why, you know, you talk about the numbness that you have in your toes, your feet. You know, we talk about amputees. It's because your blood is so thick. It's, you know, it's not reaching down to your extremities as fast. And even with the heart, when we talk about heart disease, guess what? The heart is just pumping, trying to really just work hard to try to get that blood going. And 400, oh, you might as well give it up. Look, it's just like paste. It doesn't even move. So I'll be glad to share that blood recipe with you if that's something that you want to have as a visual to really encourage individuals to start taking their blood sugars, because most of the times they don't want to take it because they don't want to know the number. But when they see a visual to actually see how their blood is, then they're curious to know what that number is, and it makes a difference. I won't go through this success story, but I wanted to put it in here because it was a success story that, I mean, we didn't think we was gonna get through to this guy. You know, we're talking about an elderly man here in Northwest Arkansas, 73 years old, that was upset anyway that his doctor told him he had to go to the class. And, you know, like he said, my A1C was 8.5, but here I had to sit and listen to something that you all have already told me. And I mean, and he was very adamant about, you know, learning anything else different. What can they teach me anything different? But it was amazing how we caught him that first day. And that's the key. Your first day, you want to make sure that you really throw in some activities that's going to catch their attention, that they're going to want to come back that next day. And we have some that really get them started and get them curious as to, oh my, I wonder what's going to happen next week. So as he sat there and started doing activities and seeing the blood, that was the biggest eye opener when we start showing him the blood and how, you know, how at each level, how your blood looks. And then when we showed him did the plate activity and then did other exercises, I mean, it was an eye opener. And here again, he started taking heed and start looking at how to control his blood sugar and start to eat well and how to move around more. And he saw a difference and he started feeling better. And we know that once we start feeling better, guess what? We start to do better. And we start to doing better even more and more. So when you get a chance, please read through his success story. We really love sharing that because, like I said, he was one that was closed-minded, didn't want to hear anything about it, but then came up on top at the end. So when we talk about a balanced meal, and this is where, we usually lose a lot of them. When you start talking about food, oh man. But here again, you want to make sure that you don't share that, you don't eat this, no, we don't go there. We actually let them balance the meal, the meal plan, like I said earlier, that they would actually plan at their home. And how to balance it a little bit more. You want to make sure that you include carbohydrates, proteins, and fats in your meal. Balance your carbohydrates at each meal. Don't skip meals. A lot of times people feel that, if I don't eat breakfast and lunch, eat my one meal a day, that's it. We're still not balanced what the body needs to be able to move around and do the things that it needs to on a daily basis. Monitor your fat intake, your salt intake. And then here we talk about the nutrients, carbohydrates, proteins, and fats. They're your major nutrients, so you need those, as well as your minors, which are your vitamins, your minerals, and your water. And I love showing this picture of the stacked pancakes. We always say, I'm going to eat me a stack of pancakes. But when we look at being balanced, is that sufficient? Is that considered an adequate amount? Is it balanced? Is it diverse? You might have some fats with the butter, and then, you got your oils, you got the syrup, the sugar, but is this sufficient? And we want to make sure that when we plan a meal or share with people who live with diabetes how to plan a meal, they need to balance it out. So posing a question, which of these major nutrients most affects the blood glucose level? The carbohydrates, proteins, or fat? And usually when we ask this question, they'll start thinking, I don't know, But then we do know that carbohydrates definitely, it breaks down first, but then it does affect your blood glucose. So as they're planning meals, they need to also control the amount of carbohydrates that they have versus the amount of sugar. So here's a plate method that we use. In the past, it was used to be 4, but now we have 3 plates because we want to make sure that you have 50% of just vegetables, fresh vegetables, 25% of protein, and then another 25% of starchy. That could be your bread, your potatoes, corn, or what have you. And then you have your fruit on the outside, water, just fix it where they could be able to balance out the nutrients that they need to have a balanced meal for the day. Most of the times when we talk about balanced meal, they talk about portion size, but I don't want to have to measure this or measure that. Well, when you think about back when people didn't measure, I know my mom, she's not one that used a measuring cup. She actually used a pinch of this or a pinch of that. And all it was that she was actually measuring. When you see down at the bottom where it talks about the 2 thumbs together, that was 1 tablespoon, or when we say an ounce of something, we're talking about 3 ounces. We're talking about the palm of our hand. So, we could actually measure by using our hands, our fingers, to just really get an idea of just how much food that we're using or how much seasoning or what have you that we're using as we're planning a meal. Water. This is always a sticky subject with a lot of individuals that we've worked with in classes because a lot of our seniors, most of us don't want to drink water. But guess what? We need it to flush out toxins in our bodies so our bodies can be actively functioning. Of course, our body holds about 60% of water. So guess what? We need to constantly replenish that and make sure that we're drinking enough water. According to the Institute of Medicine, an average, or should I say an adequate average intake for men is roughly about 13 cups of water a day. For women, we're talking about 9 cups a day. So it's a lot of water. But we need to make sure that we drink our water throughout the day so we can replenish and flush the toxins that are needed to be flushed in our bodies. So as we talk about exercise, the benefit of exercise, it controls your diabetes. It helps with your health in general. You don't even have to be a diabetic. It just helps with your health in general. It strengthens your muscles and heart, prevent bone loss, And I can go on and on, you know. But when I talk about exercise to a lot of the individuals that we work with, you know, quite naturally they'll say, I don't have time to go to the gym. I don't have time to do this. Well, guess what? You don't have to. I mean, and even now among this pandemic, you know, we can exercise right here in our home. I'm sitting here in this chair and I could easily just kick around my legs, move, you know, stretch, you know, that's flexibility. And as I combine those type of exercise, I'm really getting more active, and it's able to control a lot of things that I have going on with me. So we just get up and move, you know, is the big thing. And when we talk about aerobics, we're not saying that you had to really just, you know, do all types of different little things, but I mean, dancing, that's aerobics. You know, we even share with them to, you know, if you go shopping, taking the dog for the walk, gardening, you know, these are all things that are just getting you up to move and to do things that are really exciting, that, you know, that would really make you, you know, feel better about yourself. And in terms, decrease your blood sugars and decrease your cholesterol, your blood pressure, improve your overall stress level, you know, because it reduces that, because your body is actually getting a lot of active motion and is doing well. I often shared with a young man that was in my class, and as they were planning to try to figure out how he was going to start moving around to do a little bit more, you know, with his activities, you know, he said, well, you know what? I always send my grandson to the mailbox to get the mail. I guess I can start going to the mailbox. And I said, you know what? That'll be great. And as he started going, you know, he said, by the end of the 6 weeks, you know, he said, oh, I found myself just jogging a little bit as I go to the mailbox. So he made it a little bit more as he seen that he could do it and he was feeling better doing it. Then, you know, he got excited about getting up and going to the mailbox every day. And then he went even further to start doing other things. So once we get them to just make that first step, you know, it enhances them to want to do something better and wanting to start, especially when they start feeling better, to start improving things in their lives. So let's just start looking at some lifestyle changes that begins with us, that begins with you. You know, we need to stop making excuses. You know, we need to take care of ourselves excuse me, for us to be able to help others. I love the picture of the airplane scenario, because they always tell you that airline stewards always say, you know, in the case of an emergency, you know, air pressure, you know, the oxygen mask drop, apply the mask to yourself before applying it to a child or what have you. But that's the same with anything. You've got to take care of yourself in order to be able to help someone else. And in doing that, guess what? It's a change. Anything that is a behavior change causes some difficulties when we're trying to make a change in our habits or our sedentary lifestyle or our hygiene or anything that we start to do. Guess what? It becomes stressful. You know, it's something that, hey, it's a change, it's a challenge, it's a threat. So guess what? We become stressed out. But sometimes, you know, we want to make sure that we don't get stress tangled. You know, not all stress is bad. You know, sometimes, you know, you can be stressful just preparing for a test. And then, you know, and this test means that you could get a promotion. You know, you're stressed out about the test, but once you take it, and it's over with, you got the promotion. You know, the stress is over with. But when the stress started undermining or become mentally and physically, it started affecting us that way, then it becomes bad. We need to really start looking at it. When we look at diabetes with people living with diabetes, the effect of stress causes their blood sugar to increase, their cholesterol levels, their blood pressure, everything is on high, and except for your immune system. Because here, your body is all out of whack till, you know, you don't even have an immunity to fight off infections. And that's why, you know, people living with diabetes and have heart disease and so forth are high risk during this pandemic, because, you know, so much is out there till, you know, and that's already throwing them off. So guess what? We need to find ways that we can share with them on how you can eliminate the stress and start relaxing, where you can be able to start back with healthy routines. Because when you're stressed out, you don't want to eat right, you just eat it and pull at anything that you can grab. So these are the times that we really need to get those people back focused and motivated to want to do, to make a change. And then guess what? When they get so far out, then it actually facilitates depression. So how do we manage it? You know, are some ways that we can try to manage it. First of all, we need to recognize that it's happening. You know, that's even with ourselves when we get so stressed out about even being in the house or just being limited about having to put on a mask, you know, which is a stress thing that we know it's helpful, but yet and still we know that that's another thing that we have to do before we go to the store or what have you. But if it gets, like I said, if it gets stress get to where it undermines you mentally and physically, then you need to recognize that and try to get help appropriately. You know, you want to deal with the stress and you want to deal with it quickly. A lot of times when we feel like stress is coming on us, it's a good thing to try to do regular breathing exercises. You know, during classes, I often have my participants to just sit back with their, you know, the backs to the chair, feet on the floor, and just breathe in and then breathe out. And if they do that for like 3 to 5 minutes, it's amazing how they begin to start feeling just within those few minutes. Meditation and relaxation. Exercise regularly, you know, just getting motivated to do something, moving around. I forgot to mention on some of the activities I share with the women, and I joke with them on this, when they talk about the weights, you know, using weights. I said, you know, most of you in your purse, you know, you have stuff that weigh probably 5 or 10 pounds that you can use. Just grab your purse and just put it on your arm and start bending, or on the strap around your ankles and raise your legs. You know, they could be used as weights. But most people usually use canned goods or what have you. Gallons of milk, you know, you can use that. And then we want to think of religious activities such as prayer. You know, if you are a person that believe in prayer, then prayer does change things. And it's good to rely on that to get you through and to make sure that you don't stress yourself out. An activity that we use to eliminate stress, and it's an eye opener. We call it the water balloon exercise. And what we do is we put water in a red balloon. Well, first of all, before we do the balloon, we have each one of them to stand in a circle, and we have them to blow up a white balloon, give them a marker, and we tell them, write down happy thoughts. What are 3, 4 things that make you happy? And most of them say family, God, money, food. You know, they just wrote down things that made them happy. And we took out a big garbage bag and we had them to put all those happy balloons, you know, things that they wrote on the balloon, into the bag. And I tied it up and I said, okay, now let's just bounce it around. Don't make it fall. Keep it up in the air. And they were just hitting and laughing and just having a ball, just bouncing that bag around. And then all of a sudden I said, okay, now we have one stressful thing to come in our life. And that's where the red balloon came in, where we put water in it and we tied that balloon up and we put it in there with the other balloons that they had all the happy thoughts. And I said, now let's consider this red balloon as one stressful event that has occurred in your life. You lost a spouse. You've been told you have diabetes. You've been told that you've had a heart attack and you need to cut back on things. You lost your job. Something that has hit you so hard that you don't know what you're going to do. We threw that in the bag and I told them, bounce that around and keep it from falling. And you should have seen how the effect of just that one stressor made for them they were struggling trying to keep it up in the air. And as we finished the activity, I shared with them, I said, you had all those happy thoughts in there, but you allowed one stressed event tackle you and pull you down, and it shouldn't be. Always pull from those happy thoughts to relieve the stress that one stressor that you had to come in. Or even if it's something else, that 2 things can happen at once or what have you. But you had 4 or 5 happy thoughts on the other balloon. So look at those things and find ways to move forward and not hold yourself back on what can make you happy. The overall thing is that you just need to take control of your life. You know, start implementing changes today, you know, for a lifetime. If we're going to help someone with their diabetes, we need to be able to know that we're doing good. And if we have diabetes, what are some things we're doing real good that we could share with that individual? Take care of yourself, monitor your blood sugar, eat balanced meals, implement a routine exercise plan, manage your stress, find ways to just manage it. And, just like I told them, just do it, because we have to be of sound mind, to know that things can work in order to encourage someone else that it can. If I feel that, no, it can't work, blah, 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 I wouldn't feel comfortable telling anybody else that it can. I hadn't even been convinced. So please make sure that you take care of yourself, because if you do that, you're able to help someone else move forward with their illness and what they're struggling with, especially with diabetes. I tell them all the time, if you don't do it for yourself, do it for your family or your grandchildren or your friends. And if you're like me, do it for your granddogs. And that just perks them up. They'll say, oh, okay. They want you to be around. So you need to take care of yourself. I have some resources here. Please feel free to click online. I put in there about the American Kidney Fund to be a kidney health coach. I love that training. It's an excellent class. It's something that you can really incorporate into your diabetes if you're going to do a diabetes class, or if you need information to just share with your diabetics on how to start taking better care of themselves so they don't go into kidney failure. Things that they need to watch, things that you all can do. We know it's only the 2 tests, the blood and urine test, to signify that. But, it's a good thing we incorporated it into our classes when we became kidney health coaches. And they shared a lot of information with us, gave us stuff that we can use to have in our classes. So click on it and just see what you think. Million Hearts has a lot of stuff. They've always been real good. That's doing the preventing a million heart attacks by 2025, I think it is now. So as we move forward in that, we want to make sure that we look at tools that they have available. If you have any more questions about anything that I've discussed or wanting some materials, just please contact me or call me, and we can discuss some things. I'll be more than happy to share what I have, because like I said, it has been an experience. We loved it. We've enjoyed working with a lot of our partners in the state, and still continue to reach out to them when we have individuals that, is looking for a class or something, even though there are some that's not doing them as much, especially now during this time. But we do want to make sure that everybody just stays safe and take care of themselves. And if you have any questions, I'm open. I'll turn it back over to you, Cassie.
Thank you, Ms. Gupton. And if you want to unmute, if anybody has any questions for Ms. Gupton.
Great presentation, and your analogies, your real life experiences from your patients incorporated into the factual information, educational information, was just very good. And I agree with you. The breathing techniques definitely help, and especially right now during COVID-19, and how the stress level has even elevated, and just taking time to just sit and just understand the importance of breathing in and breathing out really does help. So just thanks for reminding us of something that's very simple that we often forget about.
Thank you.
Okay, I think that's it. And thank you everyone for coming to our webinar today. And if you have any questions or anything, you can just send me an email or Ms. Gupton an email. And I hope y'all all have a great day, and be looking for your surveys that we'll be sending out here shortly. And have a great day.
All right. Thank you so much.